who get it done.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
JTV, Jewelry Television. With 80,000 jewelry looks, we're kind of a big deal. Even bigger with new lines of designer handbags, fragrances, and more. And biggest of all, because you could win a 7-night stay in Bali, spending money and thousands worth of JTV jewelry, making you kind of a big deal. Enter by December 7th at jtv.com/sweepstakes. No purchase necessary. Then watch JTV on TV or shop jtv.com for big holiday deals.
Join us on Monday when the Dallas Cowboys visit the Las Vegas Raiders. Our coverage starts at 7 Eastern Time, kickoff at 8:15. Listen to the live stream for free at westwood1sports.com or in the Westwood One Sports app. If it's Monday Night Football, it's on Westwood One. Our game on Monday has the Cowboys visiting the Raiders in Las Vegas. Dallas is 3-5-1, Ross. They're trying to get to 4-5-1. Be careful what you wish for. No 4-5-1 team has made the playoffs in this format, but it's only 3 teams that have had that odd record. Meanwhile, the Raiders, 4 games this year, scoring fewer than 10 points. This could be exactly the cure for what ails the Dallas Cowboys.
Who takes the time to look that up? You know, it's kind of wild. Here we are, week 11. Mid-November, the Raiders and Cowboys have a combined 5 wins. That's not good. I mean, there's a lot of NFL teams that have more than 5 wins, and these 2 teams combined have 5 wins. It feels like a chance at a get-right game for really both these teams. The problem is the only unit that you feel comfortable with in this game, it's really the Cowboys offensively and what they've done. So much has happened, though, since the last time that they played a football game. You think about, obviously, the tragic passing of defensive end Marshawn Kneeland. So the Cowboys will be playing with a heavy heart. And then they also brought in guys during the trade deadline. You know, Logan Wilson at linebacker, Quinnen Williams at D-tackle. They're also getting some other guys back, like Overshone, that were injured. So a lot of signs pointing to the Cowboys potentially having a breakout game that allows them to be in the mix the rest of this year.
Ross, enjoy Sunday Night Football. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great. Thank you, Scott.
That's going to do it for this edition of NFL Preview. Join us this weekend for Sunday Night Football. Ryan Radke and Ross Tucker have all the action as the Eagles host the Detroit Lions. I'll kick off the broadcast with scores and highlights from around the league on NFL Sunday at 7:30 Eastern Time. The producer of NFL Preview is Jordan Markovic, executive producer Mike Eby. The senior vice president of sports for Cumulus Media and Westwood One is Bruce Gilbert. Now for Ross Tucker, I'm Scott Graham. Thanks for joining us. You've been listening to NFL Preview on Westwood One.
Get the latest on the Giants and Jets on WFAN, WFAN FM, WFAN FM HD1, New York, and Odyssey Sports Station.
WFAN Sports Flash.
And the Sports Flash is sponsored by Chef IQ, precision cooking, effortless results, chefiq.com. Good morning at 8 o'clock. I'm Tony Pierno. 2 of the NFL's most storied franchises will clash this afternoon in East Rutherford as the Giants host the Packers. One of the key matchups to watch will be Andrew Thomas going up against All-Pro defensive end Micah Parsons. Thomas has not allowed a sack since returning in Week 3, but knows he will have his hands full today.
You always want to go against one of the best, but like I said, they have a talented front. Rashawn Gary is a great player too. So whoever's across from me, I'm going to bring my best.
Parsons has recorded 6.5 sacks this season. Kickoff is at 1 o'clock with coverage here on The Fan beginning at 11 a.m. In other news, the Giants have placed Evan Neal on IR with a hamstring injury. On the ice last night, the Rangers edged the Blue Jackets in the shootout 2-1. Mike Sullivan's team is now 9-1-1 on the road this season.
I just think it's evidence that we can win different ways. You know, I think, a sign of a good team is when they have a comfort level playing in a one-goal game, in a low-scoring game. And I believe that we're developing that comfort level playing in a close one-goal, low-scoring game. And I think that's a sign of a good team.
And in Washington, the Devils beat the Capitals in the shootout 3-2. Men's college hoops St. John's bounced back with a 93-60 victory over William and Mary. Under Rick Pitino, the Johnnies improved to 16-0 at Carnesecca Arena. 54 degrees under mostly cloudy skies in Central Park, and that's what's happening. I'm Tony Pierno.
Put WFAN in your contact list. 888-808-1019. Powered by Paramount Plus. Count on Sundays all season long with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. It's Sunday morning. Time to take a spin around the NFL. This is You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM. Here's your host, Nick Kostos.
What's up, everybody? Happy and merry Week 11 NFL Sunday to you and yours. This is You Better You Bet on the Fan. Nick Kostos here with you for the next 60 minutes. We are talking all things betting and fantasy. Week number 11 in the National Football League. You can hit me up on Instagram and Twitter at the Kostos. Posting a lot of content on Instagram these days. We urge you to follow me there at the Kostos, THEKOS. That handle again, THEKOS. And the show is on Twitter at You Better You Bet. And the show presented today and always by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. The phone number today to chime in on bets, on fantasy, on football, 888-808-1019, 888-808-1019. All right, you know how we do. Nick Kostos and you, each and every NFL Sunday morning here on The Fan. Side total and props for every game on the board in the fastest show in all of Wagertainment. Roll it up, Eddie. Yes. Who's ready for some football? And the show starts right now. And allow me to say to all of you, our listeners and viewers, for the people watching on the WFAN YouTube page right now, buenos dias. This is embarrassing. I had to look up on Google today. I'm such a boomer. I had to look up on Google. I had to look up on the internet. I should have asked ChatGPT how to say good morning in Spanish. Despite the fact that my mother speaks Spanish, members of my family speak Spanish, and I took Spanish for 8 years in school. Maybe not 8, 7 years maybe, in college and in high school. And I had to look up this morning, because we got the Madrid game coming up here with the Dolphins and the Commanders. I had to look up. I couldn't find it in my brain. How do you say good morning in Espanol? Which is amazing, because I can remember things like all the bad guys in Foxhound from the critically acclaimed 1997 stealth action game Metal Gear Solid for PlayStation 1. Decoy Octopus, Revolver Ocelot, Vulcan Raven, Snakes Don't Belong in Alaska, Sniper Wolf, Psycho Mantis, and of course, Liquid Snake. Do you like my glasses? Anyway, buenos dias to you and yours, mis amigos, as we begin in Madrid with the Dolphins and the Commanders. The Super Bowl VII rematch the world has been waiting for, when the Dolphins completed the undefeated season in 1972 and beat the Washington then Redskins to win the championship. No word yet if they will be celebrating Garo Yepremian before the game with a moment of silence in Madrid. The Dolphins, 2.5-point favorites in this game, total 47.5. Jaden Daniels out for the Commanders. Terry McLaurin out for the Commanders. And Washington, obviously, very, 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 very bad with Marcus Mariota set to start at quarterback. And, both of these teams at 3-7, especially Washington, the seasons aren't just circling the drain. Oh, no. These seasons are in the sewer. Like, forget about the drain. Down the toilet, into the sewer. Next to Leonardo and Michelangelo and Raphael and Donatello and a half-eaten pepperoni pie and Master Splinter. We are way beyond circling the drain with the Dolphins and the Commanders. And what's funny about that is the Dolphins come into this game, actually, both teams are 3-7, with actually a lot of momentum, which is wild, beating the Buffalo Bills last week. And a ton of credit to Miami for winning that game the way they did. And just another example of the NFL being a really wacky and crazy week-to-week league. Miami looked great last week, taking down the Buffalo Bills. Whereas the Commanders and their defense, like Dan Quinn taking over the defensive play calling now after getting demolished by the Lions last week. Okay, great. The Commanders' defense doesn't look like it belongs in the NFC East. This is like an ACC defense that the Commanders are putting out there right now. It's really, really, really bad. And it kind of makes me want to lay the Miami Dolphins in this game. I don't know if I can do that. This is Miami favored by almost 3 on a neutral. So the implication would be that if this game were in Miami, the Dolphins would be more than a 3-point favorite. And I don't know if Miami can be more than a 3-point favorite against basically any team in the NFL this season. Not with the up and down nature of the Dolphins. I don't think they're very good. So if you made me bet the game, I probably wouldn't. I guess it's maybe the Commanders at plus 2.5, but I have no desire to bet this game as far as the side and total go, so I will be passing. Sin apuesta, no bet. I had to look that up also. No bet for me with the Dolphins and the Commies in the final international game of the season. Kickoff about 90 minutes away, and thank you to Eddie Ederzuman on the other side of the glass, even though I'm in Staten Island and he's in Manhattan. Just sent me the actives and inactives. Nothing surprising here. The big news is Bradley Chubb is going to play. Miami's one of their big pass rushers. He was questionable. He is active for this game. So I guess if you liked Miami, maybe that helps you and strengthens your conviction in the Miami Dolphins. We'll have a yardage prop for this game that I'm pretty excited about. And if you've been listening to the show for the last few weeks, I think you know probably where we're going here, and that is Jalen Waddle over receiving yards. Now, with Tyreek Hill out for the season, Jalen Waddle basically is the Tyreek Hill in this Dolphins passing offense. And since, over the course of the last 6 games, we're excluding the win game against the Cleveland Browns, and we've done this the last couple of weeks here on the show. Jalen Waddle stat lines: 9 catches, 110 yards, 8 catches, 95 yards, 6 for 99, 9 for 82, and 7 for 84. Marshawn Lattimore, Washington's best corner, and he's bad, and he was their best corner, is out for the season. Washington's defense is great. Dan Quinn can call the plays. You can have prime Bill Belichick calling the plays, and I don't think it matters. The players are bad. They're literally taking up Mike Tyson uppercuts at the opposition. We saw it last week. Getting fined for bumping into referees. It is bad right now. I think Jalen Waddle can have a big game. This number has been bet up over the course of the week. Doesn't scare me off. Jalen Waddle over 79.5 receiving yards. Anytime touchdowns. And we'll do more on this in the fantasy segment later in the show on the Commanders' backfield, which has now devolved into a 3 running back mess. We were hoping it would be Jacory, a.k.a. Bill Krosky Merritt, and maybe it will be Bill Krosky Merritt, but he plays, Chris Rodriguez plays, and also Jeremy McNichols Elmo also plays. My daughter loves Elmo these days. She says Elmo's name 80 times a day. Elmo. It's very cute. She also loves Abby Cadabby. Abby. And Cookie Monster also. I gotta tell you, being a dad's the absolute best. So Jeremy McNichols Elmo is the Commanders running back at the longest price to score a touchdown. Let's take a shot on him. And we saw Jalen Wright. Dun, 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 dun. the right stuff. Jalen Wright gets some carries last week behind Devon Achane and Ollie Gordon. Couple bucks on Jalen Wright and Jeremy McNichols. Anytime touchdowns for the Dolphins and the Commies. All right. Texans and the Titans in the Music City. Houston, a 6-point road favorite. Total in this game is 37. For C.J. Stroud fantasy owners, and I mean, C.J. Stroud's your QB1, you're probably in trouble. But for like super flex leagues, dynasty formats, if you've got C.J. Stroud, he is out for this game. Davis Mills is going to start. And there were overnight insider reports on Twitter that Stroud may miss Thursday's game as well against the Buffalo Bills. He has not yet cleared concussion protocol, and it's a short week coming up for the Texans. So I would expect Davis Mills to start this game and Thursday night. I'm in a couple super flex leagues, which is when you have the option to start two quarterbacks. I'm starting Davis Mills in one of those leagues today, even with a low point total. Calvin Ridley is expected to play for Tennessee as the Titans come off their bye, as is stud defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons. And this matters for the Tennessee Titans to have Ridley and to have Jeffrey Simmons. So last week, and I think it's way more about the Jaguars, just like an insane fourth quarter that almost, honestly, it does rival the Giants-Broncos fourth quarter in Denver from about a month ago, as the Texans, with Davis Mills, their backup quarterback, outscored the Jaguars 26-0 to come back and win that game. And if you had Jaguars +1, +1.5 with the touchdown on the final play of the game defensively for the Texans, that is an absolute brutal beat. And speaking of this Texans defense, it is absolutely the best unit in this game out of the four. The Texans defense is tremendous, and really, like, if you're a Texans fan, I don't know how many there are in the New York area, but I mean, the way this offense has been this year, if you had a functional offense, this is a team that absolutely could have been cooking with gas. But you don't have that because the offense is not very good. But the good news for Houston is Tennessee is one of the worst teams in the league. There is some volatility here, though. As Tennessee comes out of the bye, it's possible that you get, a way better Cam Ward now. And obviously it's been a struggle for him in his rookie year. Not a lot of talent around him. The coach gets fired. If you wanted to make a case for the Titans here, it's a 6-point home dog. I think you could make it. I'll be passing this game. No interest in betting it either side or total. I do like a couple yardage props, though. How about Jaden Hollywood Higgins? He's standing next to the mountain. Chop it down with the edge of his hand. 7 targets last week for Houston's second-round rookie wide receiver out of Iowa State. 16.5 is the number on his receiving yards. I like that. I also like the Nico Collins receiving yards prop. He had over 100 last week. The Titans' best corner, L'Jarius Sneed, is on IR. They traded their number 2 corner, Roger McCreary, to the LA Rams prior to the deadline. So I do like both Nico and Higgins. I guess this is like choose your fighter for you, the person watching, you, the person listening, whichever you would like. I could see both. If I were forced to choose one, I probably prefer Higgins. But this is like, choose your fighter. You can make your pick. And if I have to choose my fighter, I'm taking Chun-Li from Street Fighter 2, which came out in 1991, the best fighting game of all time. Anytime touchdown, Hollywood Higgins, Jaden Higgins, anytime touchdown for the Houston Texans. From the AFC South to the NFC North, with the Vikings and the Bears in Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings, a 2.5-point home favorite, 2.5. Total in the game is 48. For the Vikings, stud pass rusher Jonathan Grenard is out, as is center Ryan Kelly. I think this game is such a fun handicap. And I think that, reasonable minds can disagree, and there are smart people that could like one side of this game, and smart people that could like the other side of this game. And I'll tell you where I come down in a moment. But, I think it's a really fun game to think about and conceptualize. And we need to get in the time machine and take a trip back to week 1, Monday Night Football, where, through 3 quarters, the Bears hosted the Vikings in that game in Chicago. J.J. McCarthy looked absolutely terrible, and the Ben Johnson era looked like it was going to get started off with a pretty rousing win at home in primetime. And then the switch gets flipped, and J.J. McCarthy, who we told you last week here on the show, refers to himself on game days as his alter ego. If I can channel my inner Rammstein, 9, because he wears number 9. And he's a psycho. And I appreciate that. I mean that. J.J. McCarthy flipped the switch. 3 touchdowns in that fourth quarter. He won NFC Offensive Player of the Week, which is really funny because then he was terrible the next week and then they faked this ankle injury for him and benched him for 6 games. But McCarthy scored 3 touchdowns in that fourth quarter and led the Vikings to victory. And now here we are in Minnesota later in the season. The Bears are at 6-3, beating the Giants last week and yet another epic Giant collapse. And the Vikings are 4-5. And Minnesota's playoff berth's absolutely on life support right now. And a win for Chicago would go a long way towards getting the Bears to the postseason and cashing my Bears to make the playoffs bet from before the season starting. Now, Minnesota, absolutely, objectively, if you're a huge Bears fan, if you're a huge Vikings fan, I think you can admit that what I'm about to say is true on both sides. Minnesota has a better roster than the Bears 2 through 53. It may not even be close. The Vikings have a better team than the Bears do. But Caleb Williams right now is way better than J.J. McCarthy. And that doesn't mean that J.J. McCarthy can't one day, and that day could be today, be better than Caleb Williams. That could happen. But coming into this game, there can be no questioning that Caleb Williams is the better quarterback. And then you take the coaches into account, right? And I don't really want to do Ben Johnson versus Kevin O'Connell. To me, this is Ben Johnson versus Brian Flores. And Ben Johnson has had Brian Flores' number, whether it's in Detroit, some success in week 1 in the first game with Caleb Williams. I think you'll probably see a better Caleb performance against this Vikings defense today than you got in week 1. And just to throw this out there, and I said this with BT and Sal on Friday, I've said it on all my social platforms at the Kostos, on Instagram, and on Twitter. I said it on You Better You Bet throughout the week. I understand that Brian Flores is suing the NFL and the Giants. I think he'd probably drop that lawsuit if the Giants wanted to hire him. He would be my first choice to be head coach of the New York Football Giants. Just wanted to throw that out there. So because I think Caleb Williams is more trustworthy than J.J. McCarthy, I would bet the Bears in this game. Now, we're at 2.5. We're not at 3, but it's a juice 2.5 towards Minnesota. I'm curious to see where this line moves over the course of the morning. If we can get a 3 with Chicago Bears +3, and it was that earlier in the week, that would be my bet. But I want 3 with the Chicago Bears. Bears +3. Yardage props. How about Vikings running back Aaron Jones? Who? Aaron Jones. His cell phone number, 281-330-800-FO. Always plays well against the Bears. Bears run defense stinks, no TJ Edwards. Jones over 56.5 rushing yards. And we are all waiting in the fantasy football community. And if you play fantasy football and you love fantasy football, not like fantasy football, if you love fantasy football, you're going to agree with what I'm about to say. We are all waiting for Bears' second-round rookie receiver, Luther Burden, to usurp Olamide Zaccheaus as the Bears slot receiver. And every week, we keep hoping that it's going to happen. And it hasn't happened yet. Perhaps it happens today. And as Rage Against the Machine famously said, it has to start somewhere. It has to start sometime. What better place than here? What better time than now? Aw, hell, can't stop us now. I don't want to bet Burden over receiving yards, but let's take a shot on Burden anytime touchdown for the Chicago Bears. Steelers and the Bengals as we go from the NFC North now back to the AFC North. Pittsburgh, a 5.5-point home favorite. Total in the game is 49. Now, we're going to talk about wins being a factor in a bunch of these games today because, it's mid-November, and that's usually what happens. The weather starts to get worse. This is a wind game right now. It does not look like the wind is going to be that bad, but as I always tell you on the show, you have agency, you the person watching or listening, to Google a half an hour before the game starts, wind in Pittsburgh this afternoon. And if it's 25, 30 miles per hour, then the passing games are going to be in a little bit of trouble. You can also check out my national show. I am on nationally 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, and I will talk about the weather there and do my best Al Roker or Sam Champion impersonation for all of you. So if we're going to assume the wind is not going to be that terrible, I think it's a safe assumption for now, then let's talk about the game. for the Bengals. Trey Hendrickson is out, and first-round rookie pass rusher Shamar Stewart is on injured reserve. Samaje Perine is out. This should be a huge Chase Brown game in terms of usage for the Cincinnati Bengals. Steelers corner Darius Slay is out. Not great going up against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So Aaron Rodgers last week on Sunday Night Football against the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, look, Jets fans, you know this, right? And we all know this. We've all been watching football for a long time. Rodgers, oftentimes during these games, the camera's always on him because he's Aaron Rodgers. And he's always pissed at his teammates, and he's cursing out his teammates, and you don't have to be a super lip reader to know what he's saying. So last Sunday night, is he pissed at his teammates? Yeah. Couple instances where, he does like the head motion to DK Metcalf, and DK Metcalf's not Devontae Adams, and they haven't been playing together for years, and DK might run the wrong route, and Rodgers is cursing him out. I'll tell you. And I don't know if this is true because I'm not an Aaron Rodgers head, and thank God for that. It looked to me like Rodgers last Sunday night, and this is narrative-y, I understand. It's my opinion. I think he knew, the end is near. This was not like a loss to Father Time that is this is not like Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart in the Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12, where it goes to overtime and Michaels hits the sweet chin music and the boyhood dream is realized. This was not that. No. This was on that same card. This is Triple H jobbing to the Ultimate Warrior. The Warrior no-selling the pedigree and then beating Triple H in 30 seconds. This was a quick J.O.B., shoulders down, looking up into the lights, 1, 2, 3, where Aaron Rodgers lost to Father Time in Diesel Bob Backlund style. It looked like it happened really quick. And I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan. I know there aren't a lot of them, but I like Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers can't get it going today against this trash bag Cincinnati Bengals defense that is an embarrassment and an affront to humanity, not just football, this is offensive to humans, this Bengals defense. If Rodgers can't get it going against this defense, I think they should consider benching him for Mason Rudolph. And look, it's the holiday season. It's the holiday season. Get Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer in there. It's got a very shiny nose. If Rodgers can't get it done here today, it might be over for Aaron Rodgers. Now, I would expect, because the Bengals defense is so bad, for Aaron Rodgers to get it cooking here. If I had to bet this game, I would lay the Steelers. I don't think I'm going to. I may bet the over in the game, over 49. I do think that Bengals totals need to start with the 5 because their defense is so bad. Let's make sure the wind is okay as we approach kickoff. So over 49 would be my position in this game, but I want the wind to not be terrible. And just really quickly on the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow returned to practice earlier this week. They opened up his 21-day practice window to be activated to the active roster, and reports seem to indicate that he'll be back around week 14. It's week 11 right now. For anyone wondering, can the Bengals make the playoffs? I'll do my best Dr. Evil impersonation. How about no? No. Not with this defense. I don't care who the quarterback is. Joe Flacco, Joe Burrow, Joe Montana, Joe Namath, Joe Cap, Joe Webb, Joe Germain, Billy Joe Tolliver. It doesn't matter who it is. It does not matter. This defense is so bad that can the Bengals make the playoffs? Absolutely not. From the AFC North to the NFC South. A lot of bad divisional matchups today. As the Falcons host the Carolina Panthers, Atlanta, a 3.5-point home favorite. Total in the game is 42. Drake London, questionable, but is expected to play, and thank God for that in the Insider Overnight reports. And this is such a stupid game with two very, very, very stupid teams. Atlanta, and we say it every week, is a team that's capable of beating the best teams in the league or losing to the worst teams in the league. Last week probably should have beaten the Colts in Berlin, and then Jonathan Taylor ripped their hearts out of their body and showed it to them like Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. So another loss for Atlanta. Meanwhile, Carolina, 1 week after upsetting the Packers in Lambeau, laid a Humpty Dumpty-sized egg at home against the New Orleans Saints, and players in the locker room after the game said, yeah, we didn't really practice that hard. I think we believed our press clippings. What? They're terrible. The fact that they're 5-5 is an absolute miracle. Now, these two teams played back in week 3. Carolina won that game 30-0. It's like, oh, did these things actually happen? What are we supposed to do in this game? I'll be honest, I have no idea. But here's what I do know. I do think the Falcons have some upside to them. Like, the ceiling, I think, is higher for the Falcons than it is for the Carolina Panthers. And the main reason for that is that the Bryce Young experiment is over. Like, he stinks. He's short and slow, and his arm isn't that strong. He's me, except he plays quarterback in the NFL. And you know who knows Bryce Young can't play? The Panthers. Because they built the whole damn plane out of Rico Dowdle. Hitting them with the Rico. That's all they want to do is run the ball. Now, this isn't like, sometimes, and like some of you freaks out there, you single freaks, you go out with a girl or whatever you're into, whatever tickles your fancy, right? And like that person that you're dating really likes you. And maybe you go out to a bar and like you having, I don't know, your espresso martinis, and that person takes a picture and puts it in their story and they tag you in it in really small script in the bottom right-hand corner. But you won't repost it. No. No, you won't, because you don't really like that person. You are hiding that person. What Dave Canales is doing to Bryce Young is far beyond that. Where if they're ever seen on camera together, they're going to be like couple at the Coldplay concert that was cheating on their significant others, and Dave Canales is running for the hills. He doesn't want to even be seen in the same state as Bryce Young. Make me bet this game? I'll bet the Falcons. Would I bet it with your money? Hells to the no. I don't even like yardage props in this game. If I had to bet one, Bijan Robinson over receiving yards, because the Falcons, in their infinite wisdom, are lining Bijan up at wide receiver now in addition to running back, instead of just, giving their best running back the ball. Anytime touchdowns, let's take a look at old mother Chuba Hubbard, who's been obviously sent to the bench in favor of hit him with the Rico Dowdle. I'll take a shot on Chuba Hubbard to score a touchdown today for Carolina. Bills and the Bucs in Western New York. Buffalo, a 6-point home favorite, total 47. Another wind game here. And if the wind is really bad, we won't really know until closer to kickoff. It obviously helps the Bills. We've seen Josh Allen sling it through the wind before. Less confident that Baker Mayfield can do that if, in fact, the wind is bad. Chris Godwin and Bucky Irving remain out for Tampa, as is former Jets legendary pass rusher, the Chronicles of Hassan Reddick. Dalton Kincaid out for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Palmer returns. And just to get this out there, and we can touch on this in the fantasy segment a little later, Keon Coleman, who scored a touchdown last week for the Bills. There is a report that circulated on social media last night, not from a verified Bills reporter or an NFL insider, that Keon Coleman will be, is it Coleman or Goldman? Shout out to all the Birdcage fans out there. Great movie. That Keon Coleman will be a healthy scratch in this game. That has not been verified by any of the NFL insiders. So, it doesn't mean it can't happen, but just like when the actives and inactives come out at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, make sure you are looking at that to see if Keon Coleman's playing, if you've got him on your fantasy team. Just do your due diligence there if you're planning on starting Keon Coleman. I think the Bucs are in a tough spot here. And, last week I liked Tampa against the Patriots, and my thought was, Baker Mayfield said going into last week's game that the bye came at a good time for Tampa because he was dealing with that oblique injury prior to the bye and hadn't been scrambling as much. And think about early in the year, right, when we're talking about Baker Mayfield as a possible MVP candidate. I never thought he could win, but he was playing really well. And part of that had to do with his extending of plays. He was unbelievable at it and getting the ball to his receivers down the field. I don't think that oblique is healed. 0 scrambles last week for Baker Mayfield. And the way to beat the Bills is to run the ball down their throats. And without Bucky Irving, there's not a lot of juice in this run game for Tampa. If I had to bet this game, I think that we get a bounce-back effort from Josh Allen and the Bills. So if I had to bet it, I'd lay the 6 with Buffalo. And I do like Buffalo as a money line parlay piece today. And if you're wondering, you're passing on a lot of games here, I do have some bets. We'll get to them in short order here. Yardage props. This guy screwed us last week. He didn't screw us. That makes it sound like it's his fault. Maybe a bad bet by me. We slammed the props last week, and if Tez Johnson had gone over, we would have swept every prop in that slate. So let's go back to the well. Tez Johnson over 34.5 receiving yards, and Ray Davis anytime touchdown for Buffalo. All right, Giants fans. let's talk about our crappy team. The Packers, a touchdown favorite at Jameis Winston, Mike Kafka, and Big Blue. Total of the game is 42. No Darius Slayton, no Kayvon Thibodeau for the Giants. We'll see if Matthew Golden plays for the Packers. We're not sure if he's going to play. If we feel like he's going to, he is listed as questionable. There's just so much to say here. So, the Giants did the right thing by firing Brian Daboll. Should have fired him at the end of last year. Doesn't mean that he's not a good guy. It's not personal. He's a brutal, brutal head coach. And it's possible I'll have egg on my face after today's game at the end of this season if the Giants start playing way better. But I'll be honest. The idea that this roster, pun intended, is like some kind of sleeping giant that Joe Shane has constructed, this is like the 2007 Patriots that were coached by some bumbling, moronic buffoon. That's what this is. Actually, no. Let me tell you why, actually. Here's my think piece. Let me tell you why this Giants roster is actually better than the 85 Bears. Better than the 72 Dolphins. Better than the early 90s Cowboys or the 80s San Francisco 49ers or the great Brady Patriots teams. That's what some Giants fans will have you believe. That this roster that Joe Shane has built is actually great. And Brian Daboll was the one holding them back. Now look, I'm not here to defend Brian Daboll. I think he was terrible. What's the argument against it? But the idea that the roster is great, everybody, let me clue you all in. All you fools out there on a little secret. The Giants lose every game. They lose every game. Should I say it again? They lose every game. It's the diametric opposite of the great DJ Khaled song. All they do is lose, 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 no matter what. And you think they're great. You think they're awesome. Yeah, this roster's, it's spectacular. It's so spectacular. They're 2-8. Oh, yeah, it's great. Yeah, they're awesome. Yeah, sleeping giant here. Now they're going to rattle off a ton of wins here. Right. Please. And just to say this, if Joe Shane is coming back as the GM, and I don't think he should, there should not be half measures. Both guys should get fired. But if that's the decision, and Joe Shane's going to come back, you absolutely have to extend his contract past 26. What head coaching candidate worth his salt is coming to work for this team with the GM on a one-year deal where if they lose next year, he's going to get fired, and then a new GM gets hired that didn't pick that head coach? I want someone to tell me how any of this makes sense for the New York Football Giants. There's still time for them to fix it. You either fire Joe Shane, which I would do, or you extend Joe Shane so then you can get a good coaching candidate. Because if not, I got news for everybody. Mike Kafka is going to be the head coach of this team. Because who the hell else is going to coach the team? And I'm not saying Mike Kafka can't be good. And this feels like a Kafka novel. Like I said this last week. Like The Castle. Where you wake up and this is all surrealism for the Giants. Is this all even real? You got to do one of those two things if you're the New York Football Giants. So now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the game. I could see where, despite everything I said, someone making a case for the Giants to win this game or at least cover the spread. Green Bay loses to Carolina and then looks awful on Monday night. Jordan Love looks awful. Matt LaFleur's like a gambler on tilt, like he lost a huge hand to blackjack. Now he's playing poker and he's going all in with 2-7 off suit. That's what he looks like. He's on tilt. And I said on Tuesday on You Better You Bet, I have crossed the Packers off my list as far as legitimate Super Bowl contender. I'm not interested anymore. And Jameis Winston starting for the Giants. And Jameis brings a ton of volatility with him in every game that he starts, where he could, in any given game, A, throw for 400 yards, B, throw for 4 touchdowns, C, throw 5 interceptions, or D, all of the above. So yeah, maybe you want to be, if Jameis maybe gets hot, maybe the Giants win this game. Okay, you can make that bet, and maybe you're right. I don't have to be right. Here's what I think. I think the Packers are going to kill the Giants. The spread is 7. I think Green Bay wins by 10. Give me Green Bay, and that's all I got to say about that. Yardage props. How about Christian Elementary, my dear Watson, 40.5 receiving yards. I think he gets at least one long one today, and anytime touchdowns. This one is going to make you sick. because we've lost a lot of money on this one throughout the years. Not a lot, but a lot of anytime touchdown bets on this guy. Jalen, I can't even say it without twitching involuntarily. Jalen Hyatt. He did, if you remember in the preseason, catch a long touchdown from Jameis Winston. They do have a little bit of a rapport. Long price, Jalen Hyatt, anytime touchdown for Big Blue. Chargers and the Jaguars in Jacksonville. LA, a 3-point road favorite, total 43.5. Quentin Johnston is expected to play for the Bolts. Brian Thomas Jr. is not expected to play. If you've got him in your fantasy lineups, get another option. Reports overnight say he's not going to play with that ankle sprain. He has destroyed fantasy teams around the country, and you can tell by my tone of voice that a few of them belong to me, which sucks. I hate this Jaguars team. What's happened to them with the Hunter injury and the Hunter mismanagement and Brian Thomas and Trevor Lawrence stinks. It's you think back to the wild card game following the 22 season, January 23. These two teams played in Jacksonville. The Chargers were up 27-0 in the first half, and the Jaguars came back to win 31-30. And in that moment, it's wow, Trevor Lawrence has arrived, and Justin Herbert's a big game loser. And think about from then to now how we think about these teams and these quarterbacks, where Herbert is not just better than Lawrence, but exponentially better. And I've talked a lot about this Chargers offensive line and Alt being out and Slater being out, and they're two all-pros, and the Chargers offensive line is not good. But the Jaguars defensive front last week against the terrible Texans offensive line, 2 sacks on 47 dropbacks. The Jaguars, to me, feel like a team in free fall right now. Cue the Tom Petty. If this spread goes down to 2.5, I will lay it with the LA Chargers, but I need 2.5, not 3. Yardage props. Ladd McConkey, he's coming on in a big way. Over 63.5 receiving yards. Phil's son. Both white wide receivers in the NFL, last name McConkey, but that's actually not true. They're not related. Anytime touchdown for the Jaguars. Tim Patrick, Dan's son. That's actually true. Tim Patrick is Dan Patrick's son. To the afternoon slate. That they're not related, I'm kidding. 49, just in case people are is that true? 49ers at the Cardinals. San Fran, a 3.5-point road favorite. Total 48.5. Total does feel a little short. Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall back for the Niners. Marvin Harrison Jr. had an appendectomy. He's out. He doesn't want it bad enough, let's be honest. If he wanted it bad enough, he'd be out there for our fantasy teams. Forget about the actual real-life stuff. Bam Knight is going to play. Cue the Emerald Lagasse. Bam! But the Cardinals' defense down a number of players, including stud rookie corner Will Johnson. Now, this San Francisco defense is truly, truly terrible. Told you we liked the Rams last week. Niners couldn't even possibly get a stop. The Cardinals' offense is not the Rams' offense. Not with Jacoby Brissett, not with Marvin Harrison Jr. out. Now, I don't know if San Fran can win by enough to cover this number with their defense as bad as it is, but I do feel like the Niners are going to win this game. I like San Francisco as a moneyline parlay piece, and we can talk about who to pair them with in a moment. Yardage props, Ricky Pearsall is back. Got a great rapport with Purdy. Pearsall over 39.5 receiving yards. And anytime touchdown, you know who ran hard last week for San Francisco? Christian McCaffrey. You know who else ran hard for San Francisco? Here's to you, Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson, anytime touchdown. Rams and the Seahawks in LA. One of the best games of the season in the NFL. Both teams 7-2. Case to be made. These are the two best teams right now in the league. The Rams, 3-point home favorites, total 48.5. Devontae Adams is expected to play. Torrey Horton, here's a who, out for the Seattle Seahawks. So this spread opened on Monday, Rams minus 2.5, and I bet it. And the reason why, and there's I'm going to be fair here. There's a lot of fun things to talk about with this game. McVay versus McDonald, Sean versus Mike, is a tremendous, tremendous coaching matchup where you can argue that McVay is at the forefront of offensive innovation in the NFL and McDonald is at the forefront of defensive innovation in the NFL. It's like a fascinating game in terms of X's and O's. I don't want to talk about any of that. I would like to dumb this down to ESPN Chiron, like low-hanging fruit. Put your sneakers on, and let's take a stroll down Narrative Street. I just got a sweet pair of Air Max 95s. That would be my choice. You can bet Sam Darnold against Matthew Stafford if you want. I won't. We saw Darnold when the lights got bright last season. Week 18 on the road at Detroit. Win and in. NFC North, well, not win and in, but NFC North title game. For home field advantage in the NFC playoffs was terrible. Wild card round last year in LA against these Rams. Sam Darnold was terrible. Now, maybe Darnold's turned the corner. It's possible. And if he did, Seattle's a good bet in this game. I'll pay to see it. Now, I laid 2.5 with the Rams. At this number, it's almost 3.5. Honestly, at 3.5, maybe you consider betting Seattle. I think the number's perfect. Lean for me towards the under. The time to bet the Rams literally was on Monday when this number was 2.5. Yardage props, everything looks really good here. JSN is now 100. That's what he should be. Puka's high. Devontae's high. Devontae's coming off an injury. If you wanted to play the Cooper Kupp revenge angle, I guess it's okay. Anytime touchdowns, Clarissa's brother, Ferguson. Terrence Ferguson for the LA Rams. Ravens and the Browns in Cleveland. Baltimore, 7.5-point road favorite. Total, 38.5. Lamar Jackson good to go. He will start. Rashad Bateman and Justice Hill out for the Ravens. Now, this is another wins game. But it's a late start. So just check, Leo, as we approach, the end of the early slate. What's the win going to be like here? Cleveland has gotten bet because of the wins. Think about it like the score gets truncated, like a big underdog becomes more valuable. And Baltimore's offense has not lit the world on fire since Lamar Jackson came back from injury. With that being said, I would never, ever, ever, ever bet the Browns. I like Baltimore as a teaser leg here. Baltimore teased down to -1.5. And if you had to pair Baltimore with another teaser leg, honestly, I like the Green Bay Packers down to -1. If it goes up to 7.5, down to -1.5. Or Chicago up to +8.5. A couple options here. Dylan Gabriel's brutal. The Ravens, I think, win this game and get back to 500. Yardage props, Keaton Mitchell, over 17.5 rushing yards, and Keaton Mitchell, anytime touchdown. Chiefs and the Broncos in Denver. Kansas City, a 4-point road favorite. Total is 45. And just to get an idea of how the betting market feels about Denver. Denver's 8-2. The Chiefs are 5-4. And Kansas City's a 4-point road favorite. And Denver has one of the best home field advantages in the league because of altitude. This implies that Kansas City's a touchdown favorite if the game were at Arrowhead. Do you, the listener, do you, the viewer, do you agree with that? I think I might. Now, J.K. Dobbins is out for the Broncos, out for the season. We'll talk about what that means in the fantasy segment in a little bit. Here's what I know. Bo Nix stinks. Bo doesn't know football in this instance. He is not good. Did you watch last Thursday against the Raiders? I think he's terrible. And I think the Chiefs, despite the record, are the best team in the league and are going to win the Super Bowl. Now, Denver's defense, even without Patrick Surtain, is still pretty good. Do I think the Chiefs win this game by margin? I'm not 100% sure, because if Kansas City is going to be 4 or 4.5, you need them to win by 6, 7, or 10, basically, to cover this bet. Can that happen? Yes. Could they win by 3? Yes. I like Kansas City as a moneyline parlay piece. Give me the Super Bowl 54 and 58 Memorial moneyline parlay. Kansas City and San Francisco, both to win. Yardage props, Professor X, Xavier Worthy, over 40.5 receiving yards for KC. Anytime touchdowns, I've got a few. Eli Mitchell, remember him, Elijah Mitchell, for Kansas City at a huge price. And choose your fighter, either Tyler Bidet. Speaking of bidets, my friend Kevin has one in his house. He is a real sick freak. Tyler Bidet or Jaleel McLaughlin, the group, wrong. You can pick whichever one. I have no idea what Sean Payton's going to do. And then, best bet of the day emanates from Sunday Night Football with the Eagles and the Lions in Philly. Eagles, a 2.5-point home favorite. Total is 47. Sam Laporta, injured reserve. If you've got him in your fantasy lineups, get him out. He's out for at least 4 games for the Lions. Terrion Arnold, Hayes' brother, Kirby Joseph, and DJ Reed all out for Detroit in the secondary. And somehow the Eagles are just fully healthy in every game that they ever play. Dan Campbell took over play calling for Detroit last week against Washington. That is an ACC defense. This Eagles defense is an NFL defense. And I think, and I take no pleasure in saying this as a lifelong Giants fan, I think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. And everyone wants to do the spreadsheet losers out there with the Cheeto dust on their fingers. Oh, well, Jalen Hurts doesn't throw the ball down the field. I don't know. And A.J. Brown doesn't get the ball, the Eagles can't possibly keep winning with their EPA and DVOA and batting averaged against balls in play. And what was the Greg Giannotti, Joe Beningo made-up stat flop? That's it's all these stats. Here's the stats I care about. Wins. The Eagles always win. I'll lay the 2.5 with the Eagles, my favorite bet of Week 11. NFL Sunday, yardage props. We're going back to the well with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown over receiving yards. And with Sam Laporta out, let's go to the Lions' number 2 tight end. Small money bet at a big price. We will go to the D, where dwell. Ross Dwelly, anytime, touchdown. On the other side, fantasy football breakdown for every game and a deeper dive into props. 888-808-1019 is the number. 888-808-1019. It's You Better You Bet on the Fan with me, Nick Kostos, and you, whoever the hell you are. Presented by BetMGM.
He's hit behind the line of scrimmage and taken down.
The home of the NFL on Westwood One is WFAN.
Leaping catch at the goal line. Touchdown!
2 first-place teams with home field advantage on the line. The Eagles and Lions, 8:20 tonight on AM 660. Sunday Night Football is on the Fan, 101.9 FM, and always streaming on the free iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and Odyssey apps.
This holiday season, find excellence in every detail in a new Volvo from Volvo Cars Ramsey. Now find excellent offers with your first lease payment waived. Lease a new 2026 Volvo XC90 B5 Plus all-wheel drive, $638 per month for 36 months at Volvo Cars Ramsey, where it's all about you. Call 833-853-2975 for lease details. MSRP $66,845. VIN T1430393. Loaner vehicle 3,727 miles, $3,700 down payment. Tax title registration extra, 0 security deposit. Ends 11/30/25.
Head to SNY for all the latest offseason news and rumors.
A very busy and a very important offseason for the Mets.
With insider opinion.
What's your take on the deal?
And exclusive access.
Get it going here with Carlos Mendoza.
On Mets Hot Stove, Wednesdays at 6:30, only on SNY.
Straight Talk knows the best holiday gift is simply saying yes.
Yes, you can stay up late. Sure, more cookies. Of course we can watch that movie again.
That's why we give you real unlimited data, so you can say yes to all of your family's streaming, scrolling, and sharing. And now at Straight Talk, get another gift worth giving, a free 5G phone with select plans. Because yes is the best gift to give.
Yes!
And receive. Available at straighttalk.com and Walmart. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Pros don't just show up. They prove how it's done, with precision and without shortcuts. Makita tools are built the same way, with a dedication to lasting quality, trusted performance, and results that reward your effort year after year. When the job calls for the best, call on Makita. Built to be the best. Available at the Home Depot.
Target brings more taste, more flavor, and more deals to your Thanksgiving table. Save big on affordable holiday crowd pleasers, like select elevated sides and appetizers from Good & Gather for only $4.99. Favorite day pies for a sweet finishing touch, also just $4.99. And don't forget, great tasting turkey for only 79 cents a pound. So many cravings, so many ways to save. Step into the holidays and elevate your Thanksgiving today. Only at Target. Restrictions apply.
We're always talking New York sports on The Fan.
NFL Sunday's coming. You've got your crew, your couch, your snacks, your slate, and FanDuel is coming in with something extra. This isn't just another NFL Sunday. It's your chance to place that perfect parlay or hit your go-to player prop, and now we're making it even better. Because this week, FanDuel's bringing the bonus. That's right. Right now, all customers can get a 50% profit boost on any NFL bet. However you play your game, FanDuel's got your back with something extra in your account, because that's what Sundays should feel like. Visit FanDuel.com/Geo to download the app and get in on the action before kickoff. That's FanDuel.com/GIO. We just love the app around here. It's safe and secure, and when you win, you get paid instantly. FanDuel Sportsbook is the official partner of WFAN. 21 and over and physically present in New York. Opt-in required. Bonus issues, non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom. Vicks Vapo Stick. Soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Talk New York sports here. The Fan. It's Sunday morning. Time to plug into everything NFL. Time for your best bets and fantasy fix. It's time for You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM. Here's your host, Nick Kostos.
Yes, indeed, it is I, Nick Kostos, here with you on The Fan. Glorious Week 11 NFL Sunday. 888-808-1019, 888-808-1019. Just taking a look at the old board, see if we have anything moving. The Titans look like they're getting bet right now. The Packers are getting bet right now. Let's see what else we got here. It looks like that is it for the moment here in terms of movement since the show started. Green Bay looks like the Packers may go out to 7.5, and the Texans may come off 6 and go down to 5.5. All right, fantasy and prop betting nuggets for every game as we dive deep. How deep? And just to get this out there, because I got a couple Instagram DMs, I am on Instagram at the Kostos, TheKostos, on Twitter at the same handle. Hey, where were the props for Steelers and Bengals? I want to make sure that the wind is okay, and if and when it is for Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, I do like the DK Metcalf over receiving yards. Like, there is going to be no pressure put on Aaron Rodgers in this game. There should be opportunities for Metcalf down the field. I'll finalize that on the national show coming up 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern later this morning. All right. Commies and the Dolphins in Madrid. This game starts in about 40 minutes from now. If you need to start one of the running backs for Washington, I would still go with cross-game Merritt, but like Rodriguez and McNichols both play. Like, you roll the dice with any of them if you feel confident. With Terry McLaurin out, it's Jalen Lane and Chris Moore and like Robbie Chosen, the former Robbie Anderson. Oh, I've chosen Robbie, all right, to go to my fantasy bench. Zach Ertz is actually still viable, still in the year of our Lord 2025. For Miami, it's Achane, it's Waddle. I'm actually starting Malik Washington at Elite today. Has scored 2 touchdowns in the last couple games. He's really Miami's number 3 behind Achane also, who's a running back. But he does get a lot of targets for Tua Tagovailoa. Texans and the Titans. This has now become Woody Marks' backfield. Nick Chubb, Velvet Rope, bottle service at the Chubb Club. Nick Chubb has kind of been relegated to backup status. Woody Marks is now leading this backfield. Love Woody Marks. Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz are starts, and Jaden Higgins starting to emerge. Hollywood Higgins, I love that. I like Tony Pollard, like Tyjae Spears. Both are okay starts for today. If you need Calvin Ridley, he's going up against Derek Stingley. Probably not going to do much. I do like Chimere DK. I like DK, and I'm happy his last name is pronounced the way it is. Bears and the Vikings. Caleb Williams, an exciting start. Today I'm starting him in a couple fantasy leagues in the Dome against Minnesota's defense with Ben Johnson calling the plays. If I had to pick a Bears running back, it's clearly DeAndre Swift over Kyle Monangai. I am hoping this is the Luther Burden week over Olamide Zaccheaus. Colston Loveland's upside, unfortunately, capped by Cole Kmet. You're starting Justin Jefferson, you're starting Jordan Addison, but J.J. McCarthy, do you have the confidence he can get them the ball? You still have to start them, and I do like Aaron Jones as a start today. Bengals and the Steelers. Jamar Chase, a month ago against Pittsburgh, 23 targets, 16 catches, 161 yards, and a touchdown. He's not going to do that again, and you would hope the Steelers actually cover him, which they didn't do. Like, legendary defensive approach to a game. Don't cover the best receiver in the league. He's not going to do that again, but you're never sitting Jamar Chase. You got to start Chase Brown. You got to start T. Higgins. You got to start DK Metcalf. You got to start Jalen Warren. All three Steelers running backs get the ball. Tight ends, get the ball. The guy at the longest odds, if you want to bet one to score a touchdown, Darnell Washington, who's 6'7". And in lieu of doing the stupid hand motion, I will do the Lil Wayne. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot. Panthers and the Falcons. Let's do what Cash Patel is trying to do to the NBA. Hit him with the Rico. Start Rico Dowdle. Start Tet McMillan. I hate everyone else on the Panthers. Bijan, Algier, Pitts, London, all startable. Darnell Mooney, 8 targets last week against the Colts for 17 yards. I don't know what the hell's happened to him. Bucks and the Bills. If I were forced to choose between Rashad White and Sean Tucker with Bucky Irving out, I'll go with Rashad White. I think the Bills will be up in this game. You can start Igbuka, start K-Dot, and start Tez Johnson. And just to reiterate, there was a report last night that Keon Coleman will be a healthy scratch for this game. It is not verified, but make sure you're checking when the actives and inactives come out. Packers and the Giants. I think this is going to be a Christian Watson game for Green Bay. I'm bullish on Tyrone Tracy now. With Brian Dable out, Mike Kafka seems to like Tyrone Tracy. Wan'Dale Robinson should get 1 billion targets today from Jameis Winston. Chargers and the Titans. You're starting Kamani Vidal-Sassoon, Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, and Durante Gadsden. For Jacksonville, I guess like Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington and Travis Etienne are okay. I hate that team. Niners and the Cardinals. Ricky Pearsall back in the lineup and should be back in fantasy lineups. I'm starting him in a couple leagues. For Arizona, with Marvin Harrison out, Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch, the human Dortch, flame on. Look to be the prime beneficiaries at the receiver position, and obviously you are playing Trey, father of McBride. Seahawks and the Rams, you're starting all the usual suspects. Walker, Charbonnet, JSN, who might be the best receiver in the league, along with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, Rashid Shaheed, and Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp revenge game. I like him in PPR this week against the Rams. For the Rams, it's always Puka, Devontae, Kyren, and that's about it. Ravens and the Browns, Lamar, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers. If you want to start Mark Andrews, you can. DeAndre Hopkins is more viable today with Rashad Bateman out. For Cleveland, like you're starting Quinshon Judkins, but he's starting to taper off a little bit with Dylan Gabriel unable to throw the ball. And I am starting in a couple PPR leagues. Harold, Fannin. Chiefs and the Broncos. Isaiah Pacheco out. It'll be Kareem Hunt and Brashard Smith. My sense is coming out of the bye, we get a little more Brashard Smith today for the Kansas City Chiefs. And for Denver, if you've got RJ Harvey, fire him up with J.K. Dobbins out for the year. Lions and the Eagles. I know A.J. Brown said earlier this week, drop me from your fantasy teams. Please don't do that. Unless you're in a league that I'm in, because I'll pick him up. Pick him up! And look, it may be early in the morning, but pour yourself a shot of J-Mo. Love me some Jamison Williams with Dan Campbell now calling the plays. And that does it for the Week 11 NFL Sunday edition of You Better You Bet here on The Fan. Football Sunday with my good friend, the great Mark Malusis, is coming up next. So until we meet again, dear listener, the national edition of You Better You Bet, a couple hours from now, 11 a.m. Eastern. Tomorrow for the weekday edition at 4 p.m. Eastern. Next Sunday morning on these airwaves at 8 a.m. And you can hit me up on Instagram at the Kostos, TheKostos. I am Nick Kostos, wishing you minimal sweats, winning bets, and the absolute very best of luck. Let's get it today. Week 11, NFL Sunday.
Talk sports with BT and Sal. Middays 10 to 2. WFAN, WFAN FM, WFAN FM HD1 New York, and Odyssey Sports Station.
WFAN Sports Flash.
And this Sports Flash is sponsored by Chef IQ. Precision cooking, effortless results. ChefIQ.com. Good morning at 9.